allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Since this is my first time substituting for Bill Landman, I'm going to do my best, but feel free to call me out if I make a mistake, okay? Or redirect me. I will not be offended. Next up on the agenda, do we have any public comment?
Question.
Come to the podium, lady.
Okay, we, Perkiomen over, I think, that's all I do. Steve, where's Master? I guess he's here tonight? No? Oh, all right. He was alone. Okay. Left a business card and a note with a contractor phone number Friday at the house. It was apparently a fairly hefty truck with dual rear wheels. Left a couple of good ruts in the yard. I'm just curious why. What were they doing? I don't see a visible means of anything that happened. I guess there was a second vehicle with the neighbor further up, toward Swamp Pike, because there's marks and there, I mean, not ruts, but I was just wondering. I left a message at both phone numbers. I haven't heard anything back so far this week as to what happened, why. I don't like seeing anybody sitting there if they're familiar with that area. If nobody's directing traffic, that's not a good place to be. The crest of the hill and the curve and, on the inside. But anyway, I was just curious.
Yeah, Lee, I can speak to that real quick. So Steve mentioned to me that he had seen two dual-axle vehicles headed down your road and actually witnessed one of them, I guess, turf your property there. So he left the information, I believe it was your son was home.
Well, I forget, did they park or did
No, I think they were driving and just went off the road somehow.
How?
I don't know.
Was it just the one vehicle or two?
He just mentioned one to me,
So
but
they got off the road before the driveway and then off the road again after. But he happened to be there. Okay.
yeah, he just wanted to make sure you got the information for who was responsible.
I just haven't gotten
Yeah,
the phone
he's,
call back yet.
yeah, the winter weather has them kind of off their normal shift, so I know they were here much of last
And
evening.
thank you.
Um,
I still say that up for Frederick, these guys do our roads better than I see. Like
Oh, thank you.
Limerick or New Hanover, even for that matter. Sorry to live in there, but it just is.
Well, I'll ask Steve to follow up with you when he, gets back into the office and everything's.
I mean, it's, things happen, but that sounds weird. I mean, I'm used to people coming up and driving over with the reflectors at the end of the road and stuff. I never know if it's intentional or not. I know I'm, make fusses about things that some people might not appreciate, but it's like, hey, just stop acting like children. Fix the problems. Anyway, well, it didn't sound like in talking with Bill that you guys had gotten copy of these, and you want to, it's what I had gave him January's meeting, I think.
Okay, I'll look at,
No,
we'll look at them when we
I think it was
finish.
December's meeting.
Okay.
But,
Next up is to approve minutes, but they did not make the agenda, so I need to make a motion to amend the agenda to include the approval of meeting minutes and departmental reports.
Second motion.
All in favor? Aye. Next up is the approval of the minutes. It's the reorg minutes from January 6th, and then we also have the regular Board of Supervisors meeting dated January 8th. So we have those two sets of minutes to approve. Bill, did you have any changes or suggestions?
Nope, I read them, they look good, and I'll make a motion to approve the minutes
Aye.
for the reorg and the business meeting.
I second
All in
that.
favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Moving right along, we'll move on to the reports. First up is the treasurer's report and bills to be paid, and Sean will cover those.
Yes. So the balance sheet and budget sheet versus actual report is attached. Usually by this time of year, we expect to receive around 8%. is like 1/12 of revenues collected. Revenues collected at this time are 7.91%, slightly below that. Not unusual, since January, real estate tax bills are not all yet mailed out and returned. Real estate transfer taxes are 11.29% of the budget and more than the prior year by $4,766. The earned income tax, which is one of the larger revenue sources for the township, is at 16.36% of the budget and less than the prior year by about $6,088. Interest income is at 15.2%, 27%, of the budget, and less than last year by $1,290. General municipal pension shows a negative balance, as this is the state aid return due to a forfeiture from 2024 from a past staff member who's left the township's employ. Total revenue collections are less than 2024 by $17,096, and this is largely due to the negative balance of the state pension aid that was returned. Expenditures paid are at 22.03% of the budget, primarily due to the payment of the road program materials from 2024. So that is everything for the treasurer's report. The bills list is included there, and as I mentioned, for whatever reason, some of the checks are out of order, so I've written them, the corresponding check numbers in there. Total bills for this past month come to $109,954.98.
Great.
I'd like to make a motion to approve payment of the bills as listed in the amount of $109,954.98.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Moving along to emergency services. Doug, are you coming on up?
Sure.
Step right down.
For people who don't know me, probably don't know, I'm the fire chief here at the fire company, so, monthly report, we had 13 calls for the month. 3 in Upper Frederick Township, and then we have that community, Frederick Living, we had 8 there. Marlboro Township, we had 1, in New Hanover, we had 1. Total volunteers for the month of January, volunteer hours was 302.25. Training, we got a lot of training going on up there this time of year. We got some people interior firefighting, we got some people introduction to firefighting, rapid intervention, a lot of the chiefs took that this past week, so, but moving right along, we're staying busy. Sean, Greg Withers is gone at the Mennonite home. Remember him? He was head of maintenance over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got up and walked out, apparently left. So what that did is I put a new gentleman in charge, his name's Matt Stutzless. He contacted me Friday. He wanted me to be aware of the fact that the large part, which is Magnolia East, Magnolia West of the Frederick Mennonite community, does not have a fire pump that works. So then what that means is no sprinklers or no standpipes on the stairwells will be working, so. I hated to get that message late on a Friday, had my mind ticking, and so I ended up putting 2 more fire companies on the dispatch to cover what they call a fire department connection, where they would charge that sprinkler system from the outside. When I went over to investigate, no signage was up, so I had to get back on the phone with Matt, to, listen, we need signage, because the sprinkler connection is out of the way, fire companies coming that aren't aware of where it's located, so they're supposed to be taking care of that. The secretary got back to me, let me know, saying, hey, we're gonna get the signs up for you and everything. So, with that being said, I was just curious, are we anywhere with the fire marshal?
Yes, we have an interview scheduled.
Okay.
I can't go into,
That's fine.
more detail because it's a personnel matter, but yes, we are looking to fill that vacant position.
Okay, great, very good, appreciate it. That way they can follow up on that signage and stuff, not me. All righty, thanks, Bob.
All right, thanks, Doug.
Great. Thank you. You want to do the ambulance?
Yeah, for ambulance 308, Plymouth Community Ambulance, total calls, which are the same as year-to-date, obviously, total 29, 15 at Frederick Living.
11.
And that's the sum total of their report. There's also a state police report for calls from the past month in the meeting packet as well. Regarding the Public Works Department, first and foremost, they've been busy with the winter storm response. So they have been shifting some schedules around. They've been here overnight, kind of taking the roads in shifts and carving off some time at the end of their days. They did mention they would likely be out tonight as well, as we're anticipating a little bit more weather. So everything looks good there. I spoke with Steve. We are flush on salt. We received another, I think, 55-ton delivery, which is about enough to do the entire township in, or all the township operated roads, and the salt shed has about 10 to 11 trips worth. I think we're somewhere around 600 tons of salt in there, so we're doing good there. Aside from that, swale and ditch maintenance, park maintenance, spring and summer equipment maintenance, some minor township maintenance inside the building. They're currently putting a wall up downstairs in the basement to sort of separate a meeting space from office space down there. Christmas tree pickup, they picked up 48 trees in total, and work orders as requested. Aside from that, equipment, the JD 324K loader was serviced, an F750 was serviced, for trailers were inspected, and a Belmont trailer fender was replaced and newly fabricated.
Great, thank you. That's it for the Public Works. We're gonna back up one to the water sewer plant report. Matt, you
No
ready?
violations to report. Plants are running pretty good. It was a rough month with the cold weather, though, a lot of frozen pipes. Which basically stopped the plants from putting out effluent, backing up, but just got them thawed out and everything's fine. So, it's a lot of work.
That's the extent, that's it?
Yeah,
Short and sweet?
it's good.
Okay, great. Norm, that means you're next up.
Okay, LTL's updated the engineer's report for the month of February, sent it into the township, hopefully you have a copy of that in your packet. I can answer any questions you might have, not a lot going on. We still got requests out to Alberts to find out what's going on with their recorded plan, still don't know the status of that. And then everything is relatively quiet except for Three Dog. We're moving toward finalizing that with construction escrow, security, a couple of final plan items before they can get their plans in to have them recorded. Other than that, we also did, just this past week, 2 weeks ago, take a look at Swamp Creek Road for a possible low-volume road grant project. So we were contacted by a conservation district. They had some money, and there's always an endless supply of projects, so we went out there, took a look at issues that Steve was having, which is causing the shoulder of the road to break up. So we're gonna look to put in a pavement base drain, do some road repairs, and that would be little to no cost to the township, primarily subsidized by the grant project.
Great.
So look to make a submission. I think Conservation District wants it, I think, by like March 1st or March 5th meeting. So the only thing I'm waiting for is I always paint roads. I need them to dry off. And every time I turn around, it's raining. So all I need is a dry road. It won't take us but 2-3 days to get the grant application together for that. And but I just need a dry road. So hopefully next week, even if it's the week of, I can still get it done in time. So I just need a dry road, otherwise it's wasted time.
Is the erosion causing any issues with residents or the?
Not that I can tell, no,
Okay.
it doesn't appear to be. It's really causing premature wearing and damage to the road. So before you go do any repairs to the road, you always try to fix the stormwater, which is your swales and all that kind of stuff. Because if you take a drive down there, you can see what's called alligator cracking, which is a small cracking, and that has to do with a saturated base and no place for it to go. So if we give it a place to go, rain event will still happen the same way, but it'll be water, you'll get the hydrostatic water pressure down so that you can save your roads.
Okay, great. You want to move on and do John's portion, building inspector, zoning report?
I spoke with John, and my understanding is the two issues One site visit is set up with Bill,
Yeah.
okay? And then the other one we're gonna wait until springtime to try to find a certain way to go after the property owner to, kind of hold their feet to the fire. Kind of.
Correct.
Okay. They're the only two open items still?
Other than building permits and
Yeah,
that
right.
that type of stuff, which is more, normal.
Okay, great. Planning commission, I can either look to Buck or,
Oh, you meant the
Or
report
Vicky?
part.
yeah,
Oh, okay,
like a
I'm sorry.
report
Well,
out.
I know Buck
Any
didn't,
updates from the planning commission?
I know Buck didn't really want to stand up, so I can tell you, there's items on, later on in your agenda. The planning commission reviewed the blasting ordinance, which is gonna be on your agenda later. A subdivision and land development amendment to include financial impact studies. We are looking at a, amendment to the saldo that would, apply to plan submissions and whether or not they can be rejected when they initially come in. And they also talked about requiring replacement septic system areas, which they also asked me to work with Norm to prepare an ordinance for their review for that.
Okay. Thank you. There was no CPV, Central Park Valley Regional Planning Commission, there was no meeting, and there also was no Parks and Rec Board meeting, so, no updates there. Moving on to new business. So the next item is to make a resolution. We're making some changes to the employee handbook, related to addition of parental leave, food allowance, and revisions to social media use policy, and I'm pretty sure Sean can update us on more specifics.
Yes. So the new addition here, well, I guess there's two, but the larger of the two is the addition of a parental leave policy. So if adopted, this policy would allow full-time staff a 2-week paid time off in the event of a child's birth or adoption. It's spelled out, in detail in the employee handbook there, but that's the short and sweet of it. The boot allowance, it's a $150 annual boot allowance for public works staff. They turn in a receipt for $150 or more, they get $150. They turn in a receipt for boots less than $150, they get the true cost once per year. This is something that has been in practice for many, many years, but was never formalized in the employee handbook. So we're just putting it there in black and white for everyone. The final item is a social media use policy. Credit to Vicky, when I sent her the draft of the employee handbook, she pointed out some issues with the social media policy, so that's been revised and reviewed so that it is, how would you put it, Vicky, I guess?
Consistent with the law.
I like it.
How's that?
Yeah, good.
So that's all, there was no special changes or anything, it's just getting it in compliance.
No, there was a lot in there, if you look at the differences, there was a lot in there that governed personal social media usage of employees. And it's been changed so that it's geared now towards formal township social media and what can and can't be done with the township social media, and not getting involved with what employees are doing on their own private social media.
Yeah, okay, great.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to approve resolution, or adopt resolution 2025-02, revising the employee handbook for the township.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next up, we have board appointments for the Parks and Rec Board. So, let's see who we have here. The 4 that we are looking to make a motion to approve is Heidi Gebert,
Okay,
Susan Myers,
okay.
Bridget Reed, she's not here? Yeah. And
Kate.
Kate Bauer, I see a typo. And Kate Bauer? She's here either. No, okay. So Heidi, your term would expire 12/31/28. Susan, your term would expire 12/31/27. Bridget Reed's will expire 12/31/26. And Kate Bowers will expire at the end of this year, 12/31/25.
And those are just consistent with the vacancies that were created at the end of last year.
And it's typical for them to be staggered like that, just so that you don't lose your whole board
Right,
at one time.
correct. Yep.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Heidi, Susan, Bridget, and Kate.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, ladies. Next up, we actually have a presentation by the Natural Lands Trust. And they are offering to help us, if interested, with a proposal and referendum preparation if we would like to use their services to help us with land preservation. So they are calling in and they're gonna present on the phone.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
That's not good.
Maybe
Extra
not.
opportunity.
Please record your message.
We can all say
When
hello.
you have finished recording, you may hang up.
Swing and a miss.
Hi, Kate, this is Sean Halbum at Upper Frederick Township. If you would, please send me an email when you get this, because our phones are forwarded to voicemail after closing hours. I'll also give you a call back in a few short minutes here. Thanks so much.
He was gonna say, you might just want to try calling her back. Only because it did that right away, it didn't even ring. So sometimes that happens, like when there's a bad signal or something like that.
Or she answered the phone thinking it was Sean and it wasn't.
That's also a possibility, but.
I'll send her a text as well to let her know when she's ready.
Following the Natural Lands Trust presentation, we move on to old business. So the next item is to update us on plans for the hydrant system in Perk Crossing.
Yes, I will speak to
Yep.
that in just 1 second. I can't walk and chew gum.
That's quite all right, I was just setting the stage.
You said the third one's not ready yet,
Right, correct, yeah,
Yes,
that's
so.
just information.
I know there was a resident from Perkiomen Crossing who had called in about this. Is she here this evening? No? Okay. So just to bring everybody up to speed, I guess a couple of years ago, following a fire event at Perkiomen Crossing, the township commissioned a hydrant study from an engineering firm, Spot Stevens and McCoy. That study reached about like halfway completion and had contemplated an upgrade that would cost, in 2023 dollars, about $1.3 million. I have since spoken to the HOA over at Perkiomen Crossing to see basically what their desired outcome is for all of this. Because they are their own separate water fund, any improvements to that hydrant system would be billed to that fund, and consequently, the residents of Perkiomen Crossing may see increases in fees to cover the cost of that expense. So we had a good conversation with the HOA board. They were less